The Vatican archives are home to many secrets and artifacts that you can only dream of. Today we've got the 3 secrets of Fatima, exorcism records, and more crazy historical stuff that deserves to see the light of day. The very controversial 3rd secret of Fatima is believed to be a secret document hidden within the archives. In 1917, 3 folks from Portugal received prophecies, one of which was witnessed by thousands of people. But this supposed suppression of the 3rd secret fueled rumors that its contents were regarding a nuclear world-ending event, natural disaster, or worse. The release of the contents of this secret in 2000 didn't do much to quell speculation. So to be specific, the first prediction was a vision of hell. The second was a prediction of the end of the First World Mass Extinction event, and a prediction of the beginning of a worse war, as well as a call to consecrate an entire country that's still doing bad things to this day to the Immaculate Heart of Mary as a way to bring peace. And finally, the 3rd big elusive secret, a vision of the Pope, along with other bishops, priests, religious and lay people, being killed by soldiers. The Church has taken this not as specific prophecy, which has or will come true, but in the words of Pope Benedict XVI, a vision, speaking of dangers and how we might be saved from them. He said it is meant to mobilize the forces of change in the right direction. But still, who knows what other curses those documents are holding? Hidden within the Vatican Palace, a set of opulent apartments are adorned with stunning architecture and are said to have hidden passageways used by the infamous Borgia family. Believed to be the first ever criminal family, they were Italian Spanish nobles who rose to prominence during the Italian Renaissance. During the reign of Pope Alexander VI, formerly known as Rodrigo Borgia, they were suspected of many crimes, including but not limited to adultery, interfamilial relations, theft, bribery, killings, mostly from the liberal use of arsenic, and worse. Because of their grasping for power, they made enemies of the Medici family and the Dominican friar Girolamo Savonarola, among many others. This family stands out in history as being infamously steeped in sin and immorality. Going back to that mention of Alexander VI's reign, it is reported that they hosted a lot of naughty parties in the Vatican Palace, the banquet of chestnuts being considered one of the most disreputable balls of this kind, with reports of 50 courtesans in attendance for the entertainment of the banquet guests. It is alleged that not only was the Pope present, but also 2 of his offspring, Lucrezia and Cesar, were also there. If you were wondering, the Pope had descendants? While a cardinal, Pope Alexander maintained a long-term illicit relationship with Vanosa de Catene, with whom he had 4 descendants: Giovanni, Cesar, Lucrezia, and Giuffre. Rodrigo also had offspring with other women, including a daughter with his mistress, Giulia Farnese. Cesar went on to kill Giovanni in hopes of gaining more power within the family, and was successful on that front. Lucrezia was a notorious poisoner. She became famous for her skill at political intrigue and the mysterious deaths and disappearances of her husband. I wouldn't want to mess with whatever evil spirits are still lingering around those old apartments and passageways, since there's probably a reason they aren't used anymore. The most cursed ledger of all time that calls the Vatican archives its home would have to be the record of exorcisms conducted by the Catholic Church. A famous man once said, "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist." And in modern-day Vatican City, the devil is considered alive and well. The late Pope John Paul II personally performed 3 exorcisms during his reign, and Pope Benedict XVI expanded the ranks of the Catholic-sponsored exorcists throughout the world. In fact, Father Gabriel Amorth, the Church's chief exorcist, claims to have expelled more than 300 demons a year from the confines of his Vatican office. And there's about 350 exorcists operating on behalf of the Catholic Church in Italy alone. Father Gabriel also teaches bishops how to tell the difference between satanic possession and psychiatric illness, noting that those who suffer from the former seem to be particularly repulsed by the sight of holy water and the cross. So in Catholicism, exorcisms are performed in the name of Jesus Christ, and there's a distinction between major and minor ones. Minor exorcisms are included in some blessings in which priests call sacraments, such as blessed salt. The Catholic rite for formal exorcism, which is the major one, is given in section 11 of the Ritual Romana. The ritual lists guidelines for conducting this, and for determining when a formal one is required. In Catholic practice, the exorcist also has to be an ordained priest, if that wasn't obvious. They recite prayers according to the rubrics of the rite, and make use of religious materials, such as icons, sacramentals, and holy relics. The exorcist invokes God, specifically the name of Jesus Christ, as well as saints of the Church Triumphant and the Archangel Michael to intervene as needed. According to Catholic understanding, several weekly exorcisms over many years are sometimes required to expel a deeply entrenched demon. The Holy Rosary has a very important power, and also holy water, really important here. Going back to Father Amorth, he states that in the year 2000, Pope John Paul II attempted to exorcise a woman, but failed. Father Amorth later witnessed the possessed woman crawling up walls like a spider. Absolutely terrifying. A filed lawsuit claims that during the evil German dictator's reign, the Vatican Bank received at least 200 million Swiss francs from his puppet Utashi regime, money that his followers allegedly looted from groups of people they set out to eliminate. The class action lawsuit, headed up by attorney Keelan Friesen at Minneapolis law firm Zimmerman Reed, involved 2,000 plaintiffs, seeking an accounting of the funds as well as restitution that could go up to like 200 million. The claim also names as yet unidentified Swiss, Austrian, Argentine, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and German banking institutions, where according to the lawyer, some of this plunder might have been routed to help war criminals escape to Argentina. The suit relies on once classified documents from various countries that have been made public over the last couple of years. Well, the last many years, as well as a 1998 US government report that was issued. Some of the report's most damning evidence appears in a 1946 intelligence memo from a US Treasury agent named Emerson Bigelow, who states that the Swiss francs were held in the Vatican for safekeeping. The Vatican has consistently denied allegations of receiving Yahtzee gold, and said its internal review showed no trace of such funds, because you're going to trust the internal review from a bank that actually destroyed their records for 70 years before going public on occasion. One of the reasons the Vatican has been criticized is because it refuses to open its archives. A key figure in helping folks keep this money hidden was Krunoslav Draganovic, a Croatian priest who was the head of the College of San Girolamo in Rome. So men in Croatia who wanted to become priests lived at San Girolamo while studying for ordination, and after the big mass extinction event, the college served as a safe house for the Utashi underground. So it's alleged that Draganovic aided Utashi military and civilian leaders who had been in power in Croatia and committed crimes. Krunoslav's assistance consisted in obtaining false documents and safe passage out of Italy. Experts write that there are allegations that Krunoslav used his Vatican bank connections to launder the gold stolen by the Utashi, and that he was paid for his cooperation. By the way, Krunoslav admitted that in 1945 he had personally moved 40 kilos of Utashi gold to Rome, concealed in packing cases. A request made under the Freedom of Information Act resulted in the 1997 release of Bigelow's report. Criminal conduct described in the report led to the institution of a 1999 lawsuit against the Vatican Bank, filed by survivors and descendants of the Utashi. But the lawsuit was dismissed in 2009 under terms of the Sovereign Immunities Act. Although the legal case no longer stands, there's a lot of moral questions around all of this. Ever since allegations concerning the Vatican Bank and the Croatian plunder became public, there's been a lot of requests to the Vatican to allow access to the archival documents, and nothing yet. If there is incriminating information, it should be allowed to come out. Whatever data survived the mid-1940s would be found here, and according to experts following tradition, documents pertaining to that time period could have been made public on March 12th of 2014, which was 75 years after this Pope was in power, but nothing's happened yet. At a 1997 conference on looted Yahtzee gold in London, the Vatican was the only one out of 42 countries that rebuffed all requests for archival access. At a 1998 restitution summit in Washington, it ignored an emotional plea made by US Secretary of State Madeleine Albright and stood aside as 44 countries approved an ambitious plan to return icky looted art and property, settle unpaid life insurance claims, and reaffirm the call for open access to that time-era archive. There was some enthusiasm over a 1999 Vatican announcement to allow Jewish historians into archives, but it was short-lived. Access was limited to 5,000 documents that had been hand-picked. All that cursed gold? Still waiting to see the light of day. Finally, Queen Mary, a rallying force for Catholic cause in England, wrote a letter in French to Pope Sixtus V from Fotheringay Castle in Northamptonshire in November of 1586. She professed her allegiance to the Catholic Church of Rome and was going against the falsehoods perpetrated by her enemies in England. Now, this letter was written a few weeks before losing her head for her alleged involvement in the plot to take out Queen Elizabeth I. She claimed that the tribunal that condemned her to death was illegitimate, but her claims couldn't save her life or her head. That's all, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident Ookie Spooky Girly. See ya!